Hello, my dear students. Welcome to our English class. And today, this is the same teacher, Ms. Vivekunyovile from Mount Sinai Higher Secondary School. We are going to start a new lesson that is desert animals. Okay, we have seen a lot of animals. We have even discussed a lot about a lot of animals in our previous classes. But today, we are going to discuss particularly about desert animals. Okay, desert animals. You will find that in chapter 9. And of course, the subject is English, and you will find that in page number 112. Please turn your page to page number 112. This is a new lesson for all of us. But before that, if I speak about desert, what comes to your mind? I'm sure you picture things. You picture a place which is full of sand, and there will be sand dunes. Sand dunes are mountain-like shapes that are caused by the winds when they blow the sand together. Okay, so you all picture about that, but there are also different kinds of deserts. Okay, I want you to keep that in your mind. I will show you some different kinds of deserts, and then you will get to know more about deserts and the kinds of animals that live in the desert. I want you to think of some general knowledge questions right now. Can you name any desert that you have read in your GK? I'm sure you have read about some kinds of desert, right? By now, many of you will be ready with names of deserts. I've just prepared 3, okay? Can you name some desert areas in India and the world? I've also included the world because it is also important for each and every one of us to know about the world and not only the place we live in or the country we live in. Okay, Sahara is a desert in Africa. Thar is a desert in India and it's found in Rajasthan. Gobi is a desert in China. Okay, so these are 3 deserts that you might have heard of. There are so many other deserts, but we will not be focusing on the names of the deserts today because we are going to focus more on the kinds of animals that you will find in a desert. Yes, as usual, I've brought some word meanings again. I want you to read the word meanings along with me, okay? The first word meaning that we are going to learn is scorching. Very hot, scorching, very hot. Gerbils, mouse-like rodents with long hind legs. Hind means the back, okay? We know that a mouse has 4 legs, and so the 2 back legs will be the hind legs, okay? So gerbils are mouse, but they have longer hind legs, and it is a desert mouse. You may not find in all the places, but you will find that mostly in the desert areas. And the next is dunes. Heaps of sand formed by the wind. Repeat, dunes, heaps of sand formed by the wind. Next, pebbly, stony. Pebbly just means stony, okay? Voles, small plant-eating rodents. Repeat, small plant-eating rodents are called as voles. There are different types of rodents, okay? Some we call it the mice, some will be the voles. You have different kinds like that. We also have the gerbils as we have just read now. And so you will also find a lot of rodents, okay? That means the rat family in the desert. Next, chipmunks, small ground squirrels having light and dark stripes. Let's repeat, chipmunks, small ground squirrels having light and dark stripes. Predator, an animal naturally preying on others. Predator, an animal naturally preying on others. Amusing, interesting, enjoyable. Amusing, interesting, enjoyable. Forage, search for food. Forage, search for food. So these are some words that you are going to come across in your lesson. That is why I've given you those. You also have your textbook with you, so you can even go to the page and then learn the word meanings if you happen to forget, okay? And you will see, as you go through the story, you will see some more new words. If you find it difficult, I would always encourage you to use a dictionary. By now, you are in class 6 and I hope you know how to use a dictionary. Dictionaries are always arranged in alphabetical orders. You know the alphabets, right? A, B, C, D till Z. So it will be arranged to alphabetical orders. If you do not find a word or if you do not understand a word meaning, you can find the alphabets and go there, find the word, it will help you. So if everything that I've given here is not enough, you can always go through your dictionary and then have a look at the meaning, which will help you to understand the story better. And who do you think lives in the desert? We think that desert is a place where no one can live, right? And of course, we have heard of people traveling to the desert through the camel, but when you think of the desert, we know there will be very less rain or no rain at all. In some years, you will see that there will be no rain even for a month, okay? And in that case, if we think about that, we know that human beings cannot live without water, and to be living in a desert would be unimaginable. But one more thing, there are some particular animals that lives there. Example, the reptiles. Reptiles would be the snakes, okay, that crawls on the ground. Those will be called the reptiles. There will be different kinds of reptiles, camels, and there will be some special insects that will be found only in the desert. And the reason why they are able to live there, because we know that all living creatures need water to survive, but in order to survive, they have some special capabilities again. They will have some special qualities to adapt themselves to the harsh weather conditions in the desert, to the scorching sun. Okay, we have read that scorching means very hot, isn't it? And so these animals have the special capability to adapt themselves to these harsh weather conditions. That is why they manage to survive in this kind of weather conditions. Yes, as I talk about deserts, I've just mentioned some. Deserts are the driest places on earth. We all know that. Even before I start explaining about the desert, I'm sure you have pictured of the kinds of desert that you have in your mind, okay? So whatever you have imagined will be right, but there will be some other deserts too, some other kinds of deserts too. There would be no rain for months and even years. See, I've told you, isn't it? There would be no rain for months and even years. We find it difficult to survive without rain for a month or two. So imagine an area not getting rainfall for the whole year, for the entire year. That is going to make life very difficult there, okay? And then animals find it difficult to survive without water for long periods. Yes, every living creature needs moisture, isn't it? They need water to survive, but they also find it difficult to live in the desert, so they find special ways to cope with the harsh conditions. They just find ways, okay? Because if they're just going to stay there like a normal being, it will be difficult for them to survive. So they find ways. We should always be creative like these desert animals. If you find it difficult to do something, try some other way. Maybe it will be easier for you. So that is a life lesson for us. It is not written in our book, but I just want to let you get something, okay? Some life lessons from the creatures that live in the desert, because they find it difficult to survive without water, but they will always try to find out a different way in order to survive in the hot weather conditions, okay? And as we have discussed about gerbils, gerbils are a kind of rodent. I've told you they have longer hind legs. So what does the gerbil do? During the hot scorching day, it would go and hide itself under the bushes. There are also bushes in the desert, okay? Or behind the cactuses. You know what is a cactus? Those thorny plants that you even have at home, okay? Those are cactuses, and we know that in the deserts there would be mostly cactuses, okay? Because the other plants would find it difficult to survive in that region, we find the cactus. And so the gerbils would just go and hide themselves during the scorching sun, and they would come out only at night, or they would go and hide themselves in the burrows, okay? We know that rats and mice live in burrows under the ground. So they would just go and hide there and then would come out only at night. See, that is a way. They also need to have food. They need to come out in search of the food, right? But if they come out during the day when it is very hot, what will they feel? They might even die, or they might even get sick. We do not know how animals get sick, but they also get sick, okay? So that is one thing that they do. That is just an example. And there is another insect called the beetle, okay? Darkling beetle. You know what is a beetle? There is another insect called the darkling beetle. That darkling beetle would try to collect moisture, and then it would lift its leg, okay? It would lift its leg or hands, and then when the drop falls down, it would just drink that drop of water. So that is the way that they manage to survive in the desert, right? And not all deserts are full of sands only. I repeat, not all deserts are full of sands only. There are rocky and pebbly deserts. Rocky means full of, rocks, right? Big stones are called rocks. And so there will be some rocky deserts. There will be some pebbly. Pebbles are the small stones. You find pebbles in the rivers. Those small round stones that you find in the rivers are also called pebbles. And so there will be some deserts which will be dotted with bushes too. Not very tall trees, but there will be short trees and it would be bushes all around. Okay, so those are some kinds of deserts, and some deserts are sprinkled with flowers during the spring season. They're sprinkled with flowers during the spring season. So that is something we never imagined of. We don't think that flowers can grow in the desert, but there are some deserts which are filled, okay, sprinkled. You know what is sprinkling, right? Not just one or two, but there will be so many flowers blooming during the spring season too. Okay, yes, this is the kind of desert that you have imagined of, right? This is a desert that we all have in our mind, but I will even show you some other kinds of desert. This is a rocky desert, okay? You see so many rocks here, and so we call this kind of desert as rocky desert. And this is just a small clip. I could not show you the full desert in full view, but you can imagine that there are deserts which are filled with pebbles like that, okay? So that is something that we never imagined of. We think that deserts are only sands, but there will be some deserts like this which are filled with pebbles only. And some would be these rocky deserts. And this is an interesting one, right? Because we think that no plants can grow in the desert. We have bushy deserts, right? And see, these are some bushy deserts that you see here. There are certain bushes, not the very tall and big trees, but there are certain plants that can adapt themselves, okay, to grow well in the desert. So these are two pictures of bushy deserts. So you will find this kind of plants in the desert. And we have some desert flowers too. We know that cactuses grow. I've already explained that you will find a lot of cactuses in the desert, and so these are two pictures that I want to show you. These are not the only ones. I've even shown you in the previous one that some bushes can even flower. Okay, so the desert can look very beautiful at times and not as deadly as we imagine. We think that a desert would be always dull, it would be lifeless, it would be uninteresting, but it's not like that. You can even see flowers during the spring, which makes it very beautiful to look at. And yes, coming to the desert animals, the title of our story is, or of our lesson is desert animals, right? There are more than 2,300 species of snakes around the world. What do you know? I think you can name only a few, right? 2-3 snakes. But in the desert, you will find a lot of snakes, and in the whole world, there are more than 2,300 species. I'm not saying the number, okay? Different varieties, we call it jati, isn't it? There are so many different varieties of snakes in the whole world, and it numbers beyond 2,300 snakes. And some are very short, 15 centimeters. You know what is 15 centimeter? How long will that be? You have your instrument box, right? You find a small scale there, that will be 15 centimeter, and some can even go beyond 11 meters. 11 meters. So that would be very long, okay? So there are different kinds of snakes. Some can be very short, just the size a little longer than your palm, and some can be more than 11 meters. So that is the difference. Some are very harmless, especially snakes that are found in the water bodies are considered to be harmless, but some snakes can be very, very poisonous, okay? And many snakes, majority of the snakes will lay eggs, okay? They will lay eggs, but some snakes can even give birth, okay? Not all snakes will lay eggs, but some will even give birth. So I've just given it here. Majority of snakes lay eggs, but some give birth. So that is how they differ, not only in size, but even in the way they give birth to their young ones. And one very prominent snake that we are going to discuss about today is the rattlesnake. Okay, have you heard of that? Rattle means to make noise. Okay, there is a snake that can make noise, and it is found in the dry rocky desert of America. when I say that it's found in the dry rocky desert of America, it is not only found there, it is found even in Argentina, okay? It is found even in Canada or some other parts. But many snakes of this kind, that is the rattlesnake, will be found in the dry rocky desert of America. And it has a very bad reputation. You know what is reputation? If you do something wrong in the class, or if you are a student who always misbehave in the class, you get a bad reputation for yourself, right? And so likewise, even this snake, the rattlesnake, has a very bad reputation. It's evil looking. That means not good to look at. Of course, no snake is good to look at, but this particular snake, that is the rattlesnake, is very evil looking, not good to look at all. And then the frightening rattle, that noise that it makes from the tail, okay, is that itself gave it a very bad reputation. And then it can strike with lightning strike. That means it's very speed. It may strike you before you even see that, okay? And it is also called a rattler. Because of the name, because of the sound that it produces, it is also called a rattler because it makes a lot of rattling sound, okay? But one good thing about this rattlesnake is it tries to avoid people. We think that all snakes are ever ready to attack human beings or other living creatures, right? But for this rattlesnake, it tries to avoid people as much as possible, okay? And it will hold its tail upright. That means its tail will not be on the ground or on the floor. It will hold it straight, okay? And the end of the tail will rattle whenever it's disturbed. Nobody wants to be disturbed, right? When a kid is playing and you go and touch or spoil some of his toys or playthings, the kid will start crying. So likewise, even the rattlesnake will start rattling its tail when it is disturbed, okay? And if the warnings are ignored, that means they don't want others to come and disturb them. So if they find that others are disturbing them continuously, it would threaten. It would just coil around. It would just make circles like that. You know how a snake coil itself, right? And so it will just coil itself and be ready to attack anyone, okay? But one more important thing about this rattlesnake is it can hear only vibrations like most other snakes. You know what is vibration, isn't it? You have your phones on vibration mode, and then this rattlesnake can hear only vibration sound. It does not hear the voice or the sounds of other human beings. And it cannot hear even the rattling of its own tails. That is something very uncommon, isn't it? It can hear the vibration. If you are working near, if you are working towards the snake, they can feel the vibration. But if you shout, the snake will not hear you again. So that is one thing about this rattlesnake. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the tail of a rattlesnake, and the rattling is produced through these tails, okay? And a rattlesnake preys on, that means it eats this kind of animals, okay? Mice, voles, rats, chipmunks, and other small animals. These are the things that a rattlesnake eats on. Many of you would be watching it now and then feeling pity on these creatures, but this is life. We call it the survival of the fittest, isn't it? If you are smart, you will escape, or else you will be eaten. And so the same thing in our life. If you are smart, you will go ahead, or else people will overtake you in any kind of field. Yes, I've just shown you a picture of a vole. A vole is a rodent that feeds on plants, and this is another kind of rodent. And one more thing about snakes is few snakes have to eat more than once in a week, but there are some snakes that can survive without eating for a year, okay? Especially like the pythons. They can eat food once in a year and then survive. But whenever they eat, they will eat a big amount, okay? And there's another one, that is the mongooses, okay? Mongooses are another kind of animals found in the desert, and you will find that they would like to hunt in groups. They would always try to hunt in groups, and then they would look out for dangerous predators. That means they would look out if there's any danger around them. And then whenever they go for hunting, they would poke their nose into every hole. They will see whether something is inside that they can have, or they would overturn the stones, okay, the rocks with their paws, that means with their hands. And then they would even start scratching the ground with their sharp claws. Claws means the nails of the mongoose, okay. We call the nails of the mongoose as claws. And then it's a very interesting animal. They like to travel in group in order to forage beetles. I told you forage means search for food, isn't it? And they would also try to find some other small creatures. I've just shown you a beetle here. They like to feed on this kind of animals. And then we are going to learn more about desert animals in the next class. I want you to be present, be ready, look at your routines, and then follow it. And we are going to end our class here for today. Thank you so much for listening patiently.